right, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, sorry. And welcome to our special city council meeting of October 19th, 2021. In the interest of government transparency with regards to deliberations and decisions made by the city council and according to open meeting law, since this meeting was posted as a Zoom meeting, this meeting will be recorded by video and audio and will be conducted by remote participation. Additionally, all votes taken by the city council during this and future remote meetings will be held by roll call vote. If you are calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you are watching on a computer or a device, there is a raise hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. In attendance this evening, we have, I'm going to start from my upper left and go to my bottom right. We have Councilor Gilman, we have myself, Councilor LeBlanc, we have Councilor Pett, we have Councilor Holmgren, Councilor McCarthy, Councilor Nolan, Councilor Cox, Councilor Memhard, and Councilor O'Hara. And also in attendance, we have our city clerk, Joanne Sinos. And let's check our attendees, and I think we're good. So Madam Clerk, can we have the first order of business, please? Oh, you're on. There you go.
Okay, the first order of business is the acceptance and approval of the 2020 representing map plan for the city of Gloucester for council vote. So if you don't mind, I'd like to share my screen and we can go through the process. Okay, so what we have here, I don't know if I can enlarge it. Okay, let me go enlarge it here.
I need you to go.
Why don't you go up to like 150, Joanne, see what it looks like.
Well, I think 150 is going to maybe, okay, it's going to get it off the screen.
You should be able to scroll down and bring it back up. See how it has a little scroll bar right there on the right-hand side?
Yeah.
So you should be able to grab that. There you go.
There we go. Sorry.
That's okay.
All right. So this is, okay, am I muted?
If you don't want it to go as fast, Joanne, you can click on the arrows too.
Yeah, just hit that arrow.
That'll
up
kind of
there.
nudge it.
See the arrow up top? There you go.
There we go. I'll get it.
There you go. And then also down, do you see the minus and plus button next to that 100%? You can probably hit the plus button and zoom it in just a smidge. There you go. Keep going.
Oh,
Right. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, we can see it.
am I unmuted?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so this is the map that the Secretary of State's office drafted for us based on the 2020 April 1st federal census and based on the population of the returns they got for people who answered the census. This is the whole map of the city, and the dark black lines are where the ward lines are. So in 2010, the population federal, according to the federal census, was 28,789. After this 2020 federal census, the population increased to 29,729 residents. And so that's an increase of 940 residents. So I want to go to the next screen because that will show you the, so let's see what happened here. Zoom. Sorry. Let me just stop sharing for a minute. Bring it up again. I don't know why I got this, I'm sorry. There we go, sorry about that. So we're gonna go to the next screen. And the GIS consultant that works for the city of Gloucester, has created this map in which it will show you the wards and precincts that have been affected. Okay, I'm not very good at this, I'm really sorry. Okay, so,
We can turn our heads and still see it.
Yeah, we got Ward 1 right there. Yeah, that's fine.
okay, so you have, okay, so Ward 1, 1, 2 would go to 1, 1. And then after, if you scroll again, and you're gonna have 2, 1, some roads and streets will go from 2, 1 to 2, 2. The 2, 2 is the green. Then we would have the orange would be 2, 2 would go to 2, 1, those roads. And then after the brown is 2, 1 to 2, 2. And then the dark brown up on the top of the screen would be 3, 1, and it would go to 2, 2. So most of the ward lines have changed in the inner city. It would be 1, 2 to 1, 1, 2, 1 to 1, 2, 2, 1 to 2, 2, and 2, 2 to 2, 1, and 3, 1 to 2, 2. Wards 4 and 5, there are no changes at all. And as you can see in the packet, these are the streets that would be affected. It was the old district to the new district. So there's quite a bit of streets there. And then with the GIS consultant for the city, Peter Lamarck, he is with AppGeo. He assisted me in doing the legal boundaries based on the ward lines that have changed. And we have to have legal boundaries for the new wards and also for the precincts. So you have seen all that in your packet. And then these are the data blocks that you have to approve also. We blocked out the ID because we're not supposed to show the ID data blocks. But the rest will show all the information on it. And then after the last document is the letter that everybody I need to have sign on tomorrow. So I can send all these materials into the Secretary of State's office. And what will happen, the Local Election Districts Review Commission will review changes, legal description based on the map that they gave us, legal descriptions of the wards and precincts, and also the block, ID blocks, and match it up. And once they review it, they can either come back with revisions if they don't agree with our legal descriptions, boundary descriptions, or they will approve it. And once they approve it, it will be taken effect December 31st, 2021. But it won't be for the residents. What they're changing the polling locations in their ward lines would take effect for the next election and not this election. And that's about it. If you have any other questions.
Right. No, this is mandated by the state, correct, Joanne?
Yes, it is.
All
It
right,
is.
so-
It's the federal census. It's conducted every 10 years.
Yep.
What you will not see in this map are the housing units at Halyard and the Camerons, because of those developments were not completed by April 1st, 2020.
Okay.
So those housing units will be picked up the next 10 years when the 2030 census is conducted again by the federal government.
All right, so councilor questions, Councilor Gilman.
Yeah, Joey, would you mind scrolling to page 4? Which is the list of the streets. There you go. So what if a ward counselor's ward changes next year as a result of this re-precinct matter? Is that something that we should look into, or just in case we need to review that?
Yes, we should look into that because I didn't even, think of, the consequences of some of these streets changing on the ward counselors, in that ward. So I would suggest I either have to call the Secretary of State's office and see what the procedure is or what the opinion is, or we can ask General Counsel to reach out to them.
Okay, thank you.
Joanne,
Yes.
I just pulled the charter up on the computer I got next to me, and 2-1, I think covers that in the charter.
Right.
Eligibility for a ward counselor, paragraph B. It says any voter shall be eligible to hold the office of counselor. A ward counselor, notwithstanding his removal from one ward in the city to another during the term which he was elected, may continue to serve and perform his duties until the expiration of the term which he was elected. So maybe just, I think that would cover it, but we should double check with Chip.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I didn't even cross my mind, that could happen. So,
It sounds to me like it's covered in the charter, but we should
That's
double check it with Chip.
Yeah,
Great.
it does sound like it's covered in the
That's
charter.
helpful, thank you.
all right. Do I
Any other counselor questions?
share my screen? Do you need the shared screen again?
I don't think we do. I think we're good.
Okay.
Joanne? I
Yes.
do, through the chair, sorry.
Hold on, Val. We got, I'll circle back to you, Melissa.
Okay.
Council Cox, you have a question?
I know when we were house hunting, was a Ward 2 counselor, I had done a lot of research on that because of perception if I were to move out of the ward. Councilor McCarthy is correct that you would serve out your term and then you just wouldn't be eligible to run again for obvious reasons. So obviously we need to get legal to weigh in on it because this is being done prior to the election, but it doesn't take effect until December. So I think that's the sticky widget. But if whoever is elected, if they are then out of it after the election, I believe it's legal. So we'll see.
I agree.
Thank you.
Councilor Gilman?
Yeah, I just wanted to just anticipate that when this change occurs, there'll have to be quite a bit of education to the people that are going to be affected. So we'll have to think about how we can go about that, because people aren't great with change. And we're going to have to make sure that we identify all the people, send them letters in different languages, make sure that they understand, dry run it. I mean, the ward councils, particularly for 2 and 3, are going to have a lot of work to do. So just to put a bug in our ear that we'll have to think about how we can make that work.
Yeah, and I agree, because last time, well, when me and Melissa were campaigning 10 years ago, which seems like yesterday, but not really, seems like a million years ago.
Your gray beer would say otherwise.
I campaigned and the boulevard, both sides was Ward 3, all the way down to Bond Street. And then Ward 3 went around Stage Fort Park and all the way back down, and everything in the Stage Fort Park circle was all Ward 3. And they all voted for the Ward 3 councilor back then. And after January 1st, they reached out to me. They were no longer in my ward. They were Ward 5. And they didn't know. And it seemed weird that they voted for me, but then they weren't my constituents. So the line changed. So it does happen. So we do need to, and nobody knew, I didn't know, I was brand new back then, but to be proactive, I agree with Councilor Gilman, we do need to send something out, maybe as of January 1st, that states that you are, I don't think it really matters too much from 3-2 to 3-1, but if you go from Ward 3 to Ward 2 or vice versa, those people need to know.
So what will happen is we have to notify all the voters that affects their street, that it's going to move to another ward. So the Secretary of State's office will assist us with that. We'll have the names and addresses, and we have to send a notification telling them that their ward line has changed and where the new polling location would be.
All right,
But-
anything else, Joanne, before we?
No, but also we can have it on the website and we can do a little bit of education. Like I said, we can do voter registration in Spanish. If we know someone is Spanish speaking, the notification can be in Spanish. We do have that when people have registered to vote. We have it in Spanish, but we don't have it in like Portuguese or any other language.
All right, any other councilor questions before we move forward? Councilor Holmgren and then Councilor Pat.
Would you like me to help out with the Portuguese translation, Joanne, or
Okay.
may use the elves on the Human Rights Commission?
Well, you can. The only thing is that we cannot send out the notifications until after January 1st.
Right.
Okay, okay.
So because
Thank
what
you.
happens is that I have to send all these materials to the review commission. They have to review it, and they're either going to send us a letter saying that they approve what we did for legal boundaries and descriptions, or they'll come back with revisions. And so that's why it doesn't take effect until December 31st. And then not until after January 1st, you send out those notifications that your ward line has changed.
Thank you. Okay.
And
All right, hold on, Val. Any other councilor questions before we get back to Val? All right, Councilor Pat.
Yeah, just a quick question. Obviously, Councilor McCarthy and Councilor Cox have, shown us where some of these changes may affect an elected councilor going forward. But I would just ask, once we have confirmation from either the Secretary of State's office or through our legal counsel here in town, that that someone, I think, maybe in the clerk's office, or I'm not sure who, should reach out to the opponent that I have in Ward 2 to make sure that that individual understands what's going on, because it could be quite confusing and et cetera. So I'm just asking that someone should officially reach out to that individual to make sure she understands what's going on. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. All right, anybody else? Councilor Gilman?
yeah, just a comment for Joanne. So I'm correct, if you will, that the reason why our motion doesn't have a date is because you don't know the date until it gets approved by the state. Is that correct?
Yes, because it'll still be effective December 31st, but whatever you're voting on now, if the state does not agree with our boundary lines and comes back with a revision, then the revised plan would take effect December 31st.
January 1st, right?
Well, it says December 31st
Okay.
on, because then it'll take effect December 31st, and then it'll be effective for 2022.
And I do have one more question. I'm sorry, Counselor.
Go ahead, Val.
So, so I would bet that the reason why this is kind of late to come to the table is because of COVID and other issues that they were dealing with, because it just seems, this is only like a month and a half away from the end of the year, or 2 months, and it does seem late. And I guess I anticipate that folks in the community will say, well, why didn't we know about this? Can you explain that a little bit, Joanne, in terms of through the chair?
So,
So
back
late?
back in May, they sent a draft plan, just the plan on it. And we had to confirm the ward lines. So we had the GIS consultant come. I worked with him through Zoom, and we reviewed everything. Once we reviewed anything, and then we had an initial meeting with the Secretary of State's office, and they went over some things that we needed to do. Come July, there was a question about 2 of the streets. And unfortunately, what happened was that we didn't get an answer from someone until September, because the question that we had and we sent to the state was not answered till September for some reason. Okay, so that kind of held it up. And then after they sent us a map that was incorrect, because we were going to change the ward lines, but then after it would go into a data block, and we decided not to do that. So we were going back and forth with it, and it's a little time consuming in trying to get questions answered in the engineering, our GIS consultant, and the state. So finally, on September 30th, they sent us the correct map with the data block again, and then we had to review the legal boundaries again. So we just wanted to make sure everything was correct. And it just took some time because of going back and forth on miscommunication.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? All right, I will call on Councilor Gilman for a motion, please.
City Council votes to approve and accept the US 2020 federal census result for the city of Gloucester, and approve and accept the 2020 re-precincting plan, which consists of the re-precincting map, legal boundary descriptions, and block listings as presented by the city clerk at the October 19th, 2021 meeting, and I so move.
Second.
Second.
All right, motion's been made by Councilor Gilman, seconded by Councilor O'Hara and Councilor Cox. Any other discussion? All right, and Joanne, we're gonna ask for a reconsideration for this after? Okay. All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, I will call for the roll. Councilor O'Hara,
Yes.
Councilor Pat,
Yes.
Councilor Cox,
Yes.
Councilor Gilman,
Yes.
Councilor Holmgren,
Yes.
Councilor LeBlanc, yes. Councilor Nolan. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Council McCarthy
Yes.
and Council Memard.
Last but not least, yes.
All right, motion passes on a roll call vote of 9 in favor, 0 opposed.
Move to reconsider.
Second,
All right, motion's been made to reconsider by Councilor Cox, seconded by Councilor Memhard. Everybody understands the reconsideration? All right, let's do the roll call. Councilor O'Hara,
No.
Councilor Pat,
No.
Councilor Cox,
No.
Councilor Gilman,
No.
Councilor Holmgren,
No.
Councilor LeBlanc, no. Councilor McCarthy,
No.
Councilor Memhard,
no.
and Councilor Nolan.
No.
Motion to reconsider fails on a roll call vote of 9 opposed, 0 in favor, 9 opposed. There we go. Okay, Madam Clerk, next order of business, please.
There's a motion to adjourn, but before we do that, can I just request that if possible, you come in tomorrow to sign the letter so I can get this before the deadline of next week up to the Secretary of State's office. And once you sign the letter, I'll gather all the materials and send it priority mail.
All right, and if anybody needs a hand getting it delivered, I'll take a drive down to the clerk's office and shoot it over to you guys. You can sign it if you have an issue. Getting down the clerk's office tomorrow. I've got a pretty flexible day tomorrow. So if anybody needs a hand doing it, just give me a call and I'll make sure that you get your signature on there. All right, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All right, Counselor O'Hara. Counselor Pat,
Yes, thank you.
Counselor Cox,
Yes.
Counselor Gilman,
yes.
Counselor Holmgren,
Yes, good night, everybody.
Counselor LeBlanc, yes. Counselor McCarthy,
Yes.
Counselor Memhard,
Yes, Joanne, thank you for your work on this.
You're
Every
welcome.
10 years.
and Counselor Nolan.
Yes, thank you all and have a great night.
All right, good night, everyone. Thank you all.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.